For more on how these proposed tariffs will affect businesses here in Canada, we've reached Stewart Skinner. He is a pig farmer in Perth County, Ontario, dealing with what could potentially come. Thank you so much for talking to us this morning, because we are still waiting for more details. Details are very murky right now, but let's talk about, based on what we could potentially see coming here, how could these possible tariffs affect your business?
Well, I appreciate that you pointed out the lack of clarity and just the general anxiety that comes along with trying to conduct business in a very uncertain time. It's hard to make plans when you can't count on good faith negotiations. It's very difficult. I think the interesting short-term reality for pig farmers like myself is, regardless of what politicians do on either side of the border, pigs need to keep moving. We operate a just-in-time North American-wide supply chain. And pigs have to move, just like auto parts have to move. And so there's going to be some pretty tough conversations depending on what this list of, who knows, this afternoon this might all go away. So it's a very uncertain time. It's very challenging. All we can do is put our best foot forward and try to mitigate our risk, Marianne.
And that's the thing. So many businesses have to figure out how they can pivot, how they can put a possible plan B or C into place. And we just simply don't know the details at this point. You have taken some measures, though, to try to minimize the blow. What have you been doing?
Well, one of the things, our farm, just to put into perspective, it's not a one-man show. At the end of the day, my wife and I run this business together, and we felt pretty strongly late last summer, that we needed to start thinking about how we could mitigate another Trump presidency. We asked ourselves the tough questions, like what was the end result of the first presidency? And we couldn't remember if we actually paid duties. We just remembered the constant feeling of upheaval and anxiety. So one of the things that we started doing early was laying the groundwork to renegotiate as many contracts as possible, to essentially push that tariff risk onto our end user by removing ourselves as the importer of record. And we were largely successful for a strong percentage of our production, but we still do have some products that we sell to U.S. buyers that are still looking at maybe having to pay some significant tariffs next week.
What type of conversations have you had, and the possibility of perhaps them picking up some pigs from your farm and bringing them over themselves? Is that something that's part of your conversations?
One of the unique things about our very specific business is we raise specialty pigs. And what I mean by that is we raise pigs that are going to end up in U.S. stores like Whole Foods or Trader Joe's, some of those higher income places. And there's no easy substitute good for these. You can't just go out into the open commodity market and find more of these animals. So it makes for a really unique negotiation. There's American businesses that make good profits off of the products we sell them, and they want to keep doing so. And not to mention, they've got retail customers that won't accept empty shelves. So to use using organic hogs, which is one of the things that we do produce, and there's other farmers here in Ontario that do so. You can't just go and get more organic pigs. So, in 2 weeks, are we going to have empty shelves in Boston and New York of organic pork? How's that going to work? And where we've come to is saying, listen, and we've had some tough and honest conversations, and we've said we didn't have a vote in this election. We are honest business people. We pay our people a fair wage. We haven't been given any unfair advantages, despite what folks south of the border might claim. And ultimately, it's going to be the responsibility of the U.S. buyers to figure out how to either eat this cost or pass it on to the U.S. retailer.
You talked about the lessons you learned through the first Trump administration, how you and your business have had to pivot. But let's talk about the impact of these potential tariffs over time. Again, that being said, we don't have a lot of details. We also only have about a minute left here in this conversation. But what would be the potential impact here on your business?
I'll try to be really quick for you. In the short term, just next week, we've got a load of organic pigs that are scheduled to go to Pennsylvania on Tuesday. That one load of pigs is going to have a tariff bill of over $21,000 US. That will be due within 5 days of crossing the border. That's the short-term reality. There are going to be businesses that are seeing a short-term liquidity crunch just trying to keep their products moving. So that's the short-term reality. The long-term reality is that at the end of the day, when we look at the larger pork industry, it's a commodity. And if the supply chain changes dramatically enough, it will realign itself. It's not that long ago that Ontario sent 15,000 pigs a week to Quebec. Those pigs go to the U.S. now. They could go back to Quebec and see more east-west trade. So I think Long term, the only end result of these tariffs will be ruptured business relationships and ultimately working class folks on either side of the border having to pay more for their food, and a lot of small businesses like ours that might not see the profits that they should have when we made deals based on essentially fair trade between Canada and the U.S.
Stewart Skinner, thank you so much for breaking it down, the impact on you and your business as we await more details. That's Stewart Skinner in Perth County, Ontario. Thanks again.
Thank you.